Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. If you're new here and are wondering what the Akashic Records are, I invite you to check out my website, ninaruchi.com. And there I have some videos explaining all about what the records are and what an Akashic Record reading is. And yeah, if you haven't visited my website before, there's a lot of goodies waiting there for you. There's free meditations, there's a guided visualization, there's classes, there's workshops, there's one-on-one offerings, there's a lot of goodness there. So you can check that out if it calls to you. But for right now, thank you for being here. And I invite you to just take this moment, if it's safe and accessible, to arrive here and now, wherever it is that you are. And just take this moment, if you're able to take a little inventory of how you're feeling right now. You can take a moment to notice your posture, what shape you're in right now. And upon noticing that, see if there's a natural invitation to get a little more comfortable. Maybe you're standing or sitting in a way that actually was a little uncomfortable or could be more comfortable. Just take a little moment to explore what might feel good. Settle into that new position that might be even just 1% more comfortable than you were before. Continue to relax as I tune into the records. So the records are asking us, where do you think your credibility comes from? Where do you think your credibility comes from? And this question could be applied to a lot of different areas of our lives. We could easily take this inquiry into the realm of work and our position, our role, whatever our job is. It could be taken into your credibility as a parent in relation to your children or in relation to other parents. Where does your credibility as a parent come from? There's lots of different ways to play with this. But it feels like the most, and there's credibility as a teacher, as an example, as a leader, as a role model, whatever it might be. There's lots of different ways you can kind of lean into those roles in different facets of your life. But so I invite you to just see where that question wants to land. If there's a specific facet of your life that it feels relevant, then you can keep that in that context in your mind. Where do you think your credibility comes from? And there's nuance in this question of where do you think it comes from? And there's this awareness of, credibility often is linked to experience, and maybe there's titles, in a job, in a vocation, or in an educational space. There's certifications and titles and degrees and all kinds of things that can contribute to credibility. And there's this experiential credibility, and it seems like that's kind of where they're landing. That's more of the focus of this. The experiential credibility. I have been through this, therefore I know what I'm talking about. I have done these things, therefore you should listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. I've done this before. I've experienced this. And then there's this other flavor. I've overcome this thing, and that's why I'm qualified to talk about this or to do this or to be in charge of this thing because I have overcome it. And there's so much value in that. Certainly there is. In overcoming something and having that lived experience, there's so much power in that. And the records are asking, where do you think your credibility comes from? And this can be such a fine, blurred line of crossing over from valid, valuable experience that has informed who you are and what you have to offer in the world and how you show up in the world. Your experiences are informing how you present yourself and how you teach and lead and offer yourself to the world. And there's this really quiet, sneaky thing of I am looking for or calling in more things to overcome than what's actually required. I'm creating things to overcome, continuing to lay out challenge after challenge so I can continue to build my credibility. And I wonder if that resonates with you. This is a deep pattern that I had for a long time, and it's still there, and I have to be very aware of it because it comes back all the time. And it took me a very long time to even notice it. That's how subtle it can be. Because it feels like things are happening to me, and I'm overcoming them. And it's hard to notice, and it might even feel a little triggering of like, I'm not making my life more difficult than it needs to be. But that's kind of the question. Are you making things more difficult than they need to be? So that you can get the satisfaction and the credibility that you seek. And I feel it's a valid inquiry. I think it's important because it is so tempting because that satisfaction of overcoming a challenge is so real, and it's very tempting to almost be addicted to that, to feel like this is the only way that people will value what I have to say, is if I can prove again and again that I can overcome these difficult things, that I am so smart and capable and strong and skilled, and I have to keep proving myself again and again, challenge after challenge. And at a subtle level, maybe you're looking for things to overcome. Maybe at a subtle level, an unconscious level, there's so much innocence here. No one's doing this on purpose. But calling in or just bringing in elements to stack up the mountain or stack up the mountain to climb a little bit higher, creating something to overcome. So you can feel like I know what I'm talking about. And really, when they're saying credibility, what's underneath that is worth and value. Where do you think your value comes from? Where do you think your worthiness comes from? Do you think that you're only valuable, that what you have to offer is only valuable if you continue to do difficult things and prove your skill again and again? Do you believe that you're worthy only if you have something big and impressive in your history, in your recent history, to show people I am worthy because look at what I can do? And this is such a tender space. It's so tender to confront this of, oh my goodness, am I making things a little bit more challenging than they need to be? And through this inquiry, and this might not resonate with you, and that's okay. It could be that this whole thing is actually really annoying, or really just, irrelevant to you, and that's totally fine. You don't have to take this in. And yet through this inquiry, you can arrive at a place that feels new. A whole new way of experiencing things, where it's not that life then becomes devoid of challenge. The challenge will always be there. Natural, organic challenge will always be infused into everyone's path. No one is, without difficulty now and then. No one experiences a life without any kind of difficulty now and then. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But there's a difference between this like organic difficulty, where we're being invited to rise to the challenge, and manufacturing our own mountains to overcome and climb and, conquer. And through this inquiry, if you're not stacking up challenge after challenge after challenge in your own path, you'll find that there's spaciousness between the organic challenges that come to you. So instead of, this is a real thing that's happening that's not in my control, a real challenge that's coming to me, and now I have to overcome it. But then and those might happen intermittently. I stumbled over that one. That was a lot of T's. But yeah, they might come at intervals. But if we have this habit of creating challenge, then we're stacking up the space in between organic challenge with our own manufactured difficulties, challenges to overcome. And so if you take away the things that we're creating for ourselves, there is space between challenge that comes organically, that we're not making for ourselves, but that just happen. And in that spaciousness between challenge, there's deep capacity, there's opportunity to experience pleasure, contentment, rest, softness, joy. And there's a space to actually indulge in just the beauty that's there without something pressing to think about, without a challenge to overcome. You can enjoy the spaciousness of things not being in chaos. And so really through all of this, this is a deep inquiry into, where do I source my value from? And if I can connect to a deeper sense of value that's not only coming from overcoming challenge all the time, there's a spaciousness where you can feel connected to value and inherent worthiness for no reason at all. There's this like downtime. There's just a softness, a spaciousness, and I'm imagining like the valley between the mountains, like enjoying that lush greenery, the streams that might be there, that like beauty that's in a valley between mountains. And it becomes more of a natural rhythm instead of just challenge after challenge after challenge. It never stops. There's this moment of rest and enjoyment and pleasure in between the difficulties that might be there, that do give us some kind of value. They do contribute to our value and our credibility and all kinds of things. But that's not the only source. And that's not the only way our story has to unfold. So really, this is an invitation to leave some space for pleasure and for a life that has space, for a perspective that has space to exist without difficulty all the time. And again, Before I close, I want to just take a moment to denote the difference of there's these organic challenges that are out of our control that we're not creating. It's not our fault that this comes to us. And it could be that you have a lot of challenges in a row. That's totally possible. And I have experienced this in myself where there are organic challenges mixed in with my own need to make it harder than it needs to be. And that's the thing we're being invited to look at. Is that something that we're doing? And it could be that you're not. And even if you are doing that, there is innocence there. There's no need to blame yourself. You're not doing anything wrong. It's happening at a subtle level. You might not even realize you're doing that. So there's this gentleness and playfulness around that of softening, viewing yourself as innocent, no matter which way you're relating to challenge. Okay. This is where I'm going to leave you for today. I'd love to know what you think about this. Did this resonate with you? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did that make any sense at all? Do you tend to create a little bit more difficulty than is necessary now and then, or not? Feel free to share with me in a comment or in a message. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm wishing you well until next time. Namaste.